There is a negative, sublime freedom in their story. In their meeting and in their love, there's a total giving up of anything other than the moment now, which is all that exists anyways. Better than food, man. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent. Great to see you as always. Hope you're doing well. Get that coffee. Ah, delicious. And there's no bourbon in there. That was last night. Today is Leaving Las Vegas by the American author John O'Brien. This was a gift from Nicholas R. Thank you very much, man. I sincerely appreciate it. Absolutely loved it. I just reviewed The Road by Cormac McCarthy, which I described as the bleakest book I've ever read. And I told myself at one point, there's no way I can follow that up with Leaving Las Vegas by John O'Brien. The story of an alcoholic in Los Angeles who journeys to Las Vegas, hell-bent on drinking himself to death and befriending and falling in love with a prostitute in the process. Well, here we are. But first, really quick, today's video is sponsored by the Ridge Wallet. If you're planning on taking a road trip to Las Vegas, and let's be honest, why wouldn't you? I suggest you arrive in style with this 18-karat gold-plated Ridge Wallet. If anything, it will at least provide the illusion to other people that you are not losing all your money. Which I, of course, hope doesn't happen. I hope you make a lot of it. These things are awesome. They are light, sleek, slim, industrial little pieces of minimalist modern design. Very easy to use, holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash on the back. This will not warp your spine out of alignment on those long trips in the desert from LA to Vegas. They're meant to go into your front pocket or your side pocket, not your back pocket. Please do not sit on these. It will not go well. The durable material means that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You can buy this one wallet and carry it for life. And if this didn't convince you yet, check out their 40,000 5-star reviews. 40,000. This one is the 18-karat plated gold, perfect for Vegas. But of course, if you'd prefer something else, there are over 30 colors and styles to choose from. The durable material means that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy this one wallet and carry it for life. You could hand it down to your kids, and they could hand it down to theirs. And they could hand it down to theirs, and they could hand it down to theirs. In fact, the Ridge team is so confident you'll like it that they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. You can send it back for a full refund if you don't love it. It's a great policy. Get 10% off your order today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/betterthanfood and using the discount code BetterThanFood. The link is below. Thanks a bunch. It was John O'Brien's first and I believe only novel published while he was alive. It was first published in 1990. And 2 weeks after it was announced that it would be made into a feature-length film, which it was, a very good one, I'm told, starring Nicolas Cage and Elizabeth Shue. Anyways, 2 weeks after John O'Brien got the news that it would be made into a film, he shot himself. And Nicolas Cage went on to win an Oscar for that performance. An immense loss, one that I don't think the country was even aware of, but should have been. Kurt Cobain was probably in the news since he killed himself like 5 days earlier. O'Brien's father said that this novel was his suicide note. And yet somehow, it's not nearly as bleak as The Road. Isn't that interesting? It's curious. It's actually a warm, empathetic, quiet, profound, and deeply satisfying, though of course ill-fated and tragic, I mean what else could it be, love story. It took about 18 to 20 pages to realize this is one of the greatest American novels ever written. According to me, at least for what it's worth, which is not much, but yeah. It's one of the best that I've read. Not since Lowry's Under the Volcano have I read such a perfect display of total, all-consuming, self-destructive alcoholism. The only other books that I've read that have dealt with it in such a true fashion would be, yeah, Under the Volcano and Havoc by the Danish author Tom Christensen. All 3 of these books follow a similar trajectory, you know. Total descent into the maelstrom of addiction. Complete breakdown, like a grand giving up. Of the 3, this one is the best. He does not write like most 30-something-year-olds. I think this guy was light years ahead. I think this guy was an old soul. He really has an authoritative wisdom inside his lines, which could be the experience, the real-life experience of serious alcoholism, which was present, definitely. I mean, when he writes about it, you buy it, because how could you not, you know? It's very sincere, it's very true, it's very frightening. Really quick, many people have sent me books and it's very kind of them. However, sometimes they send me things that are really not up my alley and I feel bad because, you know, I'm not interested. So in hopes of saving people time and money, I've included my Amazon wish list below. Anything that is sent to me from there, I shall absolutely review. I'll be very grateful and I will happily thank you by name. I can't make any guarantees I'll get to it soon, especially depending on the length of the book, But I will absolutely get to it eventually, and I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you. You don't have to buy it from Amazon too. You can just check the list below and then purchase it from an independent bookstore. And speaking of independent bookstores, please check out our independent bookstore on Instagram, link below. My wife does very excellent packaging, if I do say so myself. We get a lot of compliments on that, and it's all her. These hands are completely useless. So you know, of course, when John O'Brien's name comes up, you'll hear about all the despair and addiction and all that jazz. And while I'm sure it's true and no less important, what I want to discuss and get across is the absolute outstanding individuality of John's novel. The first thing you may notice is that John has absolutely no overtones of moral judgment or superiority in his writing. None. There's a purity of expression which allows you to almost immediately bond with the characters. And the first one we meet is Sarah, who is this woman working in Las Vegas as a prostitute. You can empathize with them. You can objectively see their flaws, just as they themselves can. Like all of us, they're working through some shit. And the way John writes them, he makes them smart and self-aware, even as they continue, knowingly, in their destructive patterns. One of the first major scenes of the book is a rape scene, which is really quite brutal. And so I just want to give you the warning for that, because it's a real rough one. I think they actually moved that to the end of the film, which is interesting. But that's actually the beginning in the book. And I mean, it sets the tone, you know? It's within that context, that framework, that he builds this near immediate trust with the reader. The same way that the trust between the two struggling characters is near immediate. There's no pretense. There's just purity, right? The facades have dropped. You know, here we are. So here's the narrative, yeah. Sarah is a 20-something prostitute working in Las Vegas. She's fully aware of what she's doing, she's not forced into it, but has accepted her line of work, complete with the risks and the consequences of it, which are really awful. And she's on the run from somebody who has been following her from her bad days in LA. At first I thought it was a serial killer, but it's actually this very strange ex-pimp of hers named Al. He's this abusive, power-hungry guy who was once rich, but has fallen on hard and harder times, to the point where he's lost everything, just about, and is desperate to gain control over her once again, if it's the last thing he does. Really, really creepy guy. I read that Julian Sands plays him in the film adaptation. I was like, oh wow, that's that's gonna be good. I gotta watch that film. But anyways, I'm sure it's going to be dark as hell, but yeah. And the other character, Ben, is this fellow from Los Angeles who was laid off, divorced, and has made the decision to drink himself to death in Las Vegas, to commit suicide slowly through alcoholism. But he's forgotten exactly why. It's interesting. For being the person he is, he's actually extremely endearing. It's odd because you get this weird sense of like, well, he's just, you know, he's kind of this sort of, he's kind of bumbling and incompetent, but he's quite driven to get what he wants, which is to drink as much as possible all day until he can't any longer. His conviction and self-awareness is very unsettling. It's very disconcerting, very disturbing. It's no small thing to make that decision and play it out. I mean, he takes all these steps to do it exactly correct. You know, he has his whole finances, he has his whole financial picture in order. He knows how long he's going to be able to use his credit cards. He knows what's going to happen to all of the things he runs up on his a credit card after he dies. The bank is going to write it off. He withdraws almost all of his money. He starts selling off all of his possessions. He burns the ones that he doesn't want other people to have, like things related to, you know, his family and stuff, or that have sentimental value. He does it in kind of a ritual way. He burns the items of his past before he goes to Vegas. He sells his watch, he sells his car, and he has structured all of this out on a timeline. He knows exactly where he's going, but he doesn't remember why exactly. He's a mostly pleasant drunk. Kinda. Sloppy and forgetful, and sort of horrified by the idea of hurting somebody while he's blacked out, like when he's driving drunk, but that's not enough to stop him. He doesn't exude any kind of despair, save for these certain moments when he kind of blanks out for a moment and stares at the floor or says something. We only really feel incredibly sad when We're told like sort of the reactions of other people to Ben when he's talking to them. To think that O'Brien himself resembled in any way the male character of the narrative, Ben, is astounding, since Ben is such an alcoholic that he has gotten to the point where waking up with his face in a public urinal stall in Venice Beach, California, is no longer fazing him. And then just dusting himself off and going to get the first drink of the day at a restaurant down the street. That's a whole new level. Yeah. There is a negative, sublime freedom in their story. In their meeting and in their love, there's a total giving up of anything other than the moment now, which is all that exists anyways. Two characters very much aware of their own deaths, yet somehow together unafraid of it, accepting of it and its inevitability and proximity, which is rapidly closer and closer, it seems, yet not letting the anxiety of it control their minds and rob them of this final moment of sincere, true love. Of course, it's not that simple, and that's just my interpretation. I'm still working through it. You know, it's a complex book. Sometimes it's as if she's someone else and he's someone else to each of them, you know, both of them projecting their past failed loves onto the other. Maybe. There's a terrifying determination in Ben, an unquestionable meaning in his life. He is going to drink, and nobody is going to stop him from doing it. Nobody's going to get in his way, and this is understood between the two of them. It's at the foundation of their relationship. This is when they go on a little vacation together to a motel. She is still in her bathing suit, and he is struck with how very desirable she is, how comely her body is. He's been telling himself over and over that they will make love soon. Certainly she's been hinting at it, and he need only make an advance. But he knows better. He knows that he can barely muster the energy to roll over in bed anymore. His mastery of motor functions has all but disappeared. These days it takes a minimum of 1/5 of vodka just to brace his nerves for the trauma of standing upright out of bed. And half the time, when he's finally had enough to stand comfortably, he can no longer stand at all. He admires the resolution that she must have made to herself, how she fails to fuck with him about not fucking, indeed how she fails to fuck with him about anything. Even as the test gets harder, and as she must be going places that she never thought she'd go, she still remains true. The implied terms have not escaped her, he thinks, the golden rule that even he no longer has the power to veto. There is nothing that will stop me from drinking. Oof. I think the true blue sign that you're 100% an alcoholic is when you discover that you like to drink more than you like to fuck. It's like choosing death over life, in a way. Yeah, I think that's the test, right? There's a very peculiar instinct in some humans to go past all of the limits into the realm of uncharted experience. There's also the desire within all of us, I think, to be free from ourselves and our mind. Because an exhaustion with our identities, our separate individual identities, is seemingly inevitable, right? And I'm sure I don't have to tell you that. I mean, we all have that, I'm assuming, at various points in our lives, to varying degrees. Just being sick of our own bullshit, just knowing ourselves so well and being tired of the same patterns and the same mistakes and so on. So when these two paths intersect, something very interesting happens, but sometimes it's fatal, right? It's a very poetic kind of space that is accessed at that intersection. But yeah, I think tons of people who fall into it and swim deep, so to speak, they just don't emerge. They die, you know. Some come back, but not all of them. Almost transcendent, or I might descendant. It's like they're kind of the same thing in this case. One thing I want to say is this book is not a book against drinking. It doesn't just function on the level of as a cautionary tale. Though of course it does function on that level, perhaps better than any other book, save for the ones that I previously mentioned. It's not preachy. It doesn't have to be. The situation speaks for itself. It's plainly horrifying. And yet, again, it's the strangest thing. how do you make a book like this? How do you, I don't like the word tenderness. I feel like it's just kind of like trite and kind of too gooey. But it's like, how do you capture that purity of emotional love within a story like this? I do not know. I do not know how he did that. I'm very impressed. I've linked to an interview with his sister below, the writer Erin O'Brien, who studied her brother's work over the years, developing some fascinating discoveries. In the article, she said, "Make no mistake, the drinking himself to death premise of Leaving Las Vegas was not autobiographical for John, but fantastical. If only he could just keep drinking until the lights went out. It wasn't that easy in reality." And I believe that for sure. But yeah, she describes him as having, you know, quite like some bad habits. She goes on to talk about his other novel, Better, which I'm interested in reading now. Finished by her, I believe, posthumously, which seems to deal with the idea of identity through DNA. And she makes this theory that what created him, his identity through his DNA, what created John and his alcoholism, was also what was killing him. It seems that John O'Brien was trying to escape the alcoholism present in his genes, in his family, particularly in his father, seemingly in his genetic code. There was something in his father, it seems, that was very negative for him. O'Brien was trying to escape himself, and not only himself, but his past, his family, his DNA, his genes. He was trying to separate himself. So Better Than Food, definitely. Definitely. That takes on a dark connotation here because, you know, throughout the book, Ben is trying to eat food, and it's really not working. There's a particularly gruesome scene where he's trying to down a green, I think it's like a bell pepper with vodka in the morning, and he can't. It's horrifying. You know, it's really. Some parts are very tough to read, but it's well worth it, in my opinion. Yeah, Better Than Food, definitely, absolutely Better Than Food. So who should read it? Yeah, if you're a fan of, yeah, definitely if you're a fan of Malcolm Lowry, Havoc by Tom Christensen, Henry Miller maybe, Bukowski, sure, John Fonte, those kinds of authors, for sure. I think this is right up your alley. Dark, gritty American tales of love, self-destruction, and malaise. Yeah, definitely. What is it about Las Vegas and Los Angeles, those two cities? They really just have an unending wealth of fodder for creativity. Dark, 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 dark places, but just fascinating endlessly, it seems. It's just, God. And yeah, if you like Hunter S. Thompson too, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, yeah, this would be a good follow-up, a good come down, so to speak. So what did I dislike about it? Nothing. Nothing. Yeah, I didn't dislike anything. I thought the writing was absolutely exquisite. I thought it was pitch perfect brilliant. I'm very, very jealous of how easy he makes it look. It's really just perfect writing. Perfect writing. There's no fat on it. There's no excess. And all the great moments are really profound without drawing too much attention to themselves. I mean, it's really a very subtle, masterfully crafted novel. Not too short, not too long. Yeah, that's a damn good book. That's probably going to be one of the best of the year. It's absolutely going to be one of the best of the year for me. That was a perfect book. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's depressing, but you know, it's not The Road depressing. We're gonna have a scale here, right? The most depressing books ever written, according to Cliff Sargent. I might make that video. I'm definitely gonna make that video. Coffee time. For those of you who are new, thank you so much for stopping by. I take all of the names of the patrons on Patreon who have donated $5 or more per video to the show. I place them in this mason jar, and for every review I do, I pull out a name, and whoever's name I pull out is sent a hard copy of the book I'm reviewing, plus a bag of coffee, roasted by yours truly. And the coffee is delicious, if I do say so myself. I'm sick of shaking this thing. just taking a break. If you would be so kind as to help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/booksarebetterthanfood and donate $5 or more per video, or you can click on the link below. For $1 more, you'll get access to the Patron-Only Reviews, the Discord channel, tons of cool people in there sharing recommendations. I love them all. Good jokes too. It's a good time. It's a good crowd. And the Better Than Friday newsletter that I send out every Friday, which is just a list of 5 different things that I'm interested in at any given time. Could be books in the pipeline, music, films, articles. It changes week to week. Usually a combination of all those things. So yeah, if you need something new to listen to or something new to watch or read, and you think we have similar tastes, I think you'll enjoy it. And there's like over 100 of them. So you have a lot of recommendations to access. Unfortunately, international shipping is not included. Thank you very much to all the patrons and best of luck. All right, here we go. Hunter V. Thank you very much, Hunter. I really appreciate it. You're going to receive Leaving Las Vegas by John O'Brien, plus a bag of delicious coffee. And I hope you love both. Thanks a bunch. All right, well, that's all I've got for you today. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and always remember, bring a book wherever you go. All right, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Have a good night. Talk to you soon. Ciao.